Yo, what's going on? In this video, I want to break down the difference between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So what is the difference between the two? The sympathetic nervous system, best way of looking at it, it's the fight or flight. It's the fight or flight functions of the body that start firing off whenever the body feels like it's in immediate danger. The parasympathetic nervous system, what's that? That's the rest, relax, and digest functions of the body. That's when the body's actually taking its time to relax, rest, so that it can actually build, repair, and heal itself. That's the big difference between the two. The fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, that's like we're on edge, we've got this. What happens is when this nervous system is being engaged, our adrenal glands are firing off adrenaline and cortisol throughout our entire body. When we have adrenaline and cortisol throughout our body, it's good for the short term if there's an immediate threat. Like, for example, back in the caveman days, if a lion's coming right at us, we need the sympathetic nervous system in order to fire off to actually save our lives. Our sympathetic nervous system is a good thing for that. However, with the modern life that we live in today, we don't have lions chasing us all the time. We don't have bears coming and attacking us. And so what happens is that our bodies don't know the difference when we're constantly in a state of fear. And so we don't have lions coming to attack us anymore, but what we do have is all the stress that come from work, the bills that we have to pay, worrying about what people are thinking about us, worrying about the future. All of those things, when we engage in any of those behaviors and a number of other things, that engages our sympathetic nervous system. And so in today's society, that just doesn't really help us that much. And what it actually does is it literally hurts us, because the more that we're in our sympathetic nervous system throughout the day, again, it's good for short-term things like exercising and working out. We're engaging our sympathetic nervous system in order to lift things, in order to run. Like our breathing is going to be quicker because we're doing things with our body. But most people find themselves in that state 99% of their day. And so what's the parasympathetic nervous system in comparison? The parasympathetic nervous system, again, that's the rest, relax, and digest parts of the body. That's when you're sleeping at night, you are unconsciously engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, because that is a time that the body is actually resting throughout the night. Especially since we don't give it enough rest throughout the day, we sleep at night in order to make up for that lost time. Our body's in the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's actually what's causing the rest that we feel throughout the night. And so that's the big difference between those two nervous systems. So I have another video somewhere on my YouTube channel breaking down a very simple breathing exercise to engage more of the parasympathetic nervous system, because when we're in the parasympathetic nervous system more frequently, we're able to maintain a place of calm, a place of peace, a place of clarity, a place of better decision making, versus when we're in our sympathetic nervous system, when we're in this constant state of like we got all this adrenaline and cortisol shooting off. All that adrenaline, cortisol, it's going to cause stress. What does stress cause? It causes dis-ease. It causes diseases throughout the body, because we've got an excess of adrenaline and cortisol shooting off throughout our body. And so since 99% of society is in our sympathetic nervous system, we got to balance it out. We got to balance it out more with the parasympathetic nervous system. We have to bring more of the parasympathetic into our day-to-day lives so that we can balance that out, come to a place of equilibrium, come to a place of homeostasis within the body, so that we can see clearly, we can think clearly, we can make better decisions. If we're making decisions from a place of like a lion is coming to attack us, yes, it's good to save our lives immediately, but it trains us to constantly be thinking short term. It trains us to constantly be thinking short term, versus the long term thinking. We don't make good decisions if we're constantly focused on the short term. What's the next thing that I got to do? How do I pay these bills now? Like blah blah blah. Versus the parasympathetic nervous system, it allows us to take a step back, evaluate the situation from much clearer perspective, much clearer eyes, much clearer thoughts, so that we can make better decisions for what's actually good for us in the long term, what's actually good for us in the future, not just in the short term, immediate danger, running from the lion type of situation. And so those are the big differences between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Again, sympathetic is fight or flight. That's gonna signal to the adrenal glands to shoot off adrenaline and cortisol so that we can run from the lion. The parasympathetic nervous system, that's the rest, relax, and digest functions of the body. That's where all the repair happens in the body. If you're an athlete, you know that muscle growth does not come while you're actually working out. When does muscle growth actually come? It comes from rest. When we're working out and we're lifting weights, that's actually muscle breakdown. There's micro tissues that are breaking down inside of our muscles while we're working out. And so at night while we're sleeping, that's why they say for all the athletes to make sure that you get good rest and prioritize your sleep so that you can actually rebuild those muscles. And so by activating more of our parasympathetic nervous system, not just while we're sleeping at night, but throughout our day, we start building more of that muscle as well. And so that's the big difference between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems right there. This is an absolute game changer once you start really seeing the difference between the two. Once you start really feeling it within your body, you feel the difference. You feel night and day difference. You feel the jitteriness of like, oh man, I'm in my fight or flight right now. I'm deep in my sympathetic. I'm in fear. I'm in worry. Like I'm not thinking clearly. I'm not seeing clearly. Like, oh man, this is crazy right here. Versus the parasympathetic nervous system, you're coming at it from more of a place of calm, relaxed power. When you're in a place of calm, you become more powerful to make better decisions for yourself. So I've got a video somewhere on the channel about a simple breathing exercise to activate more of the parasympathetic nervous system. Go check that out. It actually gives a deeper explanation to everything that we just covered here as well. So sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is not a bad thing, but we're in the sympathetic nervous system 99% of the time. That's why we're all stressed out. That's why we're all so stressed out right now as a society. That's why we're living in so much fear, because that's our sympathetic nervous system firing off. It doesn't know the difference between a lion coming at us or something that we saw in the news today. And so the parasympathetic, that's going to create more of a balance in our lives. That's going to create more calm, more peace, and more power to make better decisions for ourselves in our life. Peace.